The Axe question is this: when you create something, an ebook, a product, a website, a video, a sermon, how do you know it's going to be good enough to be launched? First off, what is good has to be defined. And I'm just going to be candid. People have different and very subjective definitions of what they think is good enough. I mean, really, just ask my 5-year-old who sort of cleans up the sink after he brushes his teeth with a half a bottle of toothpaste still left in the sink. I mean, he does a good job in his mind, but in my mind, it's drastically different. Or if you come and clean my truck, maybe your vision of good is different than mine. I mean, I use Q-tips in the vents. So we have to start measuring with a different standard than just what is good. Because frankly, good is subjective and quite possibly sort of an ever-moving target. So then by what standard should we measure our readiness for whatever we're making? So when is something, quote, good enough? Well, aesthetically, we can look at the subject in question through the filter of, let's just say, proper design, form, function. You know, for an example, an ebook would be expected to have, no spelling errors or poor grammatical usage like this video and most of the things I write. A website should be designed in a way that insulates, or those insulators of web-based navigation, those things that we're used to, the interface, the user interface, it should be maybe good. A video should have really good video and audio qualities. Again, very subjective in short. But the aesthetic properties of a subject that we refer to as beauty is now beauty. But again, beauty is much like good, and something told you what beautiful is or what good is, and then that becomes your definition. But it doesn't mean that we're right in our thinking. What I think most people are really asking, and maybe you yourself, about when something is good enough, for this to be launched, is really this. Is it marketable? Will it sell? Will this get views, likes, hearts, emojis, shares? Will this, what I'm making, get traction? And maybe even, can I make money with this? Even if this isn't your intention, hear me out so that you can be guarded by it. This is the pitfall for our generation. The creative process that we are a part of and the things that we make and birth from our bones. We are all on a search for good, not on a quest of faithfulness. This is the pitfall. You see, comparison with what is good or what we think is defined as good or beauty has been, simply replaced by what would be inspiration. Profit has become the checkbox for what we decide to make. Marketing is a word that we use that, frankly, that maybe things that can't sell themselves, we market. To borrow a quote from Jim Collins, it's a book, if you've never read it, hashtag good to great. Good has become the enemy of great. And I would add to you, Jim Collins, that I believe the greatness is now toxically defined. If good has become the enemy of great, greatness is now toxically defined. As a people, we must reclaim what is true greatness. Not just what is good, not just what is great, but what is true greatness. So what about the real value, the intrinsic worth of something? What about the good that we always just can't see or measure? What about beauty? And making things because we love to make them, not because we want to be loved by, frankly, what we make. There has to be more than this just good, or when is something good enough, that we broadly define now as greatness. In Genesis 1:31, Scripture uses a very specific word in Hebrew for very good. First, the very good, or the good part. The very part. It's pronounced michod, which actually means exceedingly abundance or muchness in force next to the good. Then when you put that in with very and good, good, pronounced tov, actually means good, pleasant, beneficial, and bounty. What was it that made creation a beneficial force, an abundance of pleasant bounty? In short, how do you know if a said creation was or is ready for launch? 3 words, and then we'll get to some practical steps. Those 3 words, I think, are excellence, effectiveness, and faithfulness. I believe excellence is the part of the very good from the beginning of time. I mean, look around. Google rainforest frogs. I mean, so amazing. Okay? I also believe that effectiveness is a part of excellence. Creation is very effective in moving forward and expanding. Somehow this is still all going on and we are still all here. To have excellence and effectiveness, you have to be faithful to both of them. Like pre-algebra to algebra, so is faithfulness to the 2. Like God to us, through it all, faithful, excellent, and effective. In this, I think you actually find greatness, not goodness, emerge. Greatness, or the very good that the Hebrew scriptures declare, is when something is both effective and excellent, and faithfulness keeps it there. So how do you test this in your own work, in your own creation? So let's go back to the question, the original Acts question for review. How do you know when your creation is good and now ready to launch? Those 3 words shape that conversation, but here's some practical steps. Number 1, you have to posture yourself. You have to self-examine what you've been faithful to. You have to look in the mirror beyond your uniquely created iris, and you have to examine your own motives. Okay, have you done everything you can do to make this effective? Excellent. And with the resources you have you been faithful? Have you been faithful to the creation process with all that you are? That is the true mission of your said art. Number 2, you've got to pilot your ideas. When large corporations are going to do something, they roll it out in small markets and they test the waters. I've had these weird McDonald's experiences that you don't have anywhere else, and then bam, McGriddles are everywhere. And they're shaping my life, literally. I love McGriddles. My abs are now McGriddles. Gross, I know. But don't be afraid to ask someone close to you, friends, leaders, somebody that you can help test those waters, get feedback, get the direction. Chances are they got a perspective, maybe a different perspective, and see a different light than you do. The third thing is this: push for excellence. I think pull for effectiveness. Push for excellence, pull for effectiveness. What do I mean? Find the inspiration from others that you are doing and push that bar to be faithful to what is being defined from aesthetic properties of excellent. Be professional. Swim in that pond. But don't get frustrated when your resource is not there and someone else's is. It's like wanting to swim in the ocean, but you're pond ready. Or writing a book and wonder why people are not talking about it, like Carl Lenz's recent book, Own the Moment. Be faithful in the excellence, the water that you are in, and you will get to the bigger body of water eventually. So pull for effectiveness and then pull all those levers you can be, pulling for that project. Closer to the definition of what a bullseye is that you're trying to accomplish. If money is your goal, nothing wrong with that, but make sure that if you're making something that's made to mean money, profit is sometimes not evil, but what we do with it can be. But if the bullseye is profit, then make that your mission, not your shadow mission. Pull the levers, all the levers you can to put that project in the center of the mark. You need to learn about margins. If your goal is beyond more than just paper money, something more in a sense, then pull it towards that bullseye and make sure that it's an effective in all of the places that you can make it as close to that stage or that bullseye as possible. I think these 2 ideas will serve you in your launch of your art well. Number 4, plan your launch. You got to have a plan when you're going to launch something. Is it a good day, week? Are there places that this should be launched? Look at Apple and how they launch their products. I mean, there are a clear set of plans and purpose in motion that have already been set. And then we've all got to buy freaking dongles. And I only use freaking in extreme situations like dongles. And then lastly, I think you need to perfect it. Repeat this process and you get better every single time. Make revisions, edits on that new data and new experience. Continue to be faithful to excellence and effectiveness, and I think it always remains very good. On another note, if you are a member of the Axe Academy, make sure you watch the sermon series on comparison within the Axe Academy. And also look for that upcoming e-course as we're making it currently. The reason I say that is because I think comparison is the greatest weapon, if you will, against our faithfulness and our effectiveness and our excellence. It leaves us with this toxic lead feeling that we're just never good enough and we're never ready. If you are a member of the Axe Academy, can I just simply say thank you for being a part of this next season of my life. I want my life to leave a wake very good. And frankly, I need your help to do it. Let's swing away.